Welcome back to the David67 YouTube Celtic News channel. Today, Thursday the 5th of October, just back after a few days away on holiday in Amsterdam, and managed to get back just in time to see the Celtic against Lazio game live on TV last night. And today's video is primarily going to be a post-match reaction to the Lazio game last night. Before we get going, please do, if you can, click the subscribe button and boost the subscriber numbers, get the video seen by more and more people, and also like the video, which also helps with all the analyticals and rankings and publishing and promotion of this video via YouTube. So I thought last night Celtic played well, deserved to win, and at the very least deserved to lose. However, is a night reminiscent of so many for me of the last 50 years supporting Celtic. So near and yet so far. And is, for me, an example of why I think this, for Celtic in terms of Europe, is a development season. I think, having seen the group, there was the outside chance of getting second, there was a chance of getting third, but given the fact that we are the pot four team in this group, and that we are up against the Dutch champions and teams who over the last few seasons have been in the top 2 or 3 in the Spanish league and in the Italian league, I think our position in this group of fourth in terms of seeding is probably going to be the position that we end up in. But there was a chance, if luck was with us, if things fell into place for us, if the odd decision went our way rather than went against us, there was the possibility of getting second or third in this group. And I think certainly there is still the possibility of those two places. It is a bit more distant now that Lazio moved to 4 alongside Atletico, Feyenoord on 3. We're on no points. However, I'm fully sure that we can take at least a point off Lazio in Rome. I think we have the capacity to take a point off Atletico Madrid when they come to Celtic Park in 3 weeks. And I'm fully sure that we can beat Feyenoord in the 6th game of this group stage to finish off the campaign with a win. Whether that gets us into third place or even second place is dependent a wee bit on how well Atletico Madrid do against our other 2 rivals in this group. I thought overall the defensive 4 played fine. Johnson and Taylor did a good job defending out wide, coming into the middle, and Taylor pushed forward on a regular basis, got himself involved deep in the final third, attacking Lazio. Johnson also managed to get himself forward into midfield and down overlapping wide, and did have a good chance to score, which unfortunately he hit over the bar. Nat Phillips and Scales looked comfortable in central defence. Both looked able to intercept and anticipate the Lazio attack. I thought Scales and Taylor are building a good understanding on the left also. And of our 4 defenders, I think Scales was our best player rather, which is a little bit odd to say and think, given how we started the season, where Scales was a player who seemed to be on the transfer chopping block, and on his way out the club, and now seems to be Celtic's number one choice at central defence, whilst CCV and Navrocki are working their way back to fitness. There were a few players I think played well. Kyogo looked very good up front, took his one good chance very comfortably. We didn't seem to really get him terribly many other chances to score, which was disappointing. Matt O'Reilly had a good job, a good game in his more attacking role. He didn't quite get back to compete in more central midfield, but was good linking play and getting the ball forward and supporting the front three. As I said, I thought the back four all had fine games. Yang was a bit disappointing for me. A few flashes, some good pace, but never really seemed to be able to drive into the box or drive out wide. His crosses into the box and passes into the box never really were of good enough quality. And I have to say, I was very surprised to see Celtic starting 11 with Yang rather than Luis Palma, and with Maeda on the right and Yang on the left. Not massively sure why they swapped those two players around. Maeda had a typical Maeda game. Lots of good hard work up and down his side, helping out in midfield, helping out in defence, acting as a right back when Johnson went off with his knee being cut. He, of course, was heavily involved with Celtic's first goal, but does seem a bit of a liability when it comes to being in the opposition box. He had a very good chance to score, but scuffed his left-footed shot across the goal when I just wish he'd taken half a second, got himself set, and then he could have whipped it in right-footed into the far corner. However, I think Maeda is a player that we need to keep on playing, and hopefully with a bit of time and coaching, his goal-scoring abilities reach the levels that he seems to be able to show when playing for Japan, but less able when playing for Celtic. Quite a lot of people on the various Celtic fan sites and YouTube channels and vlogs and other fan sites laying the blame at the players, laying the blame at the board. But I think personally, a large amount of yesterday's loss needs to be also put at the feet of Rodgers and his coaching staff. The decision to take off Phillips, who was playing fine, had a good understanding with Scales and Johnston and Taylor, to bring on CCV, who clearly hasn't played for 6 weeks or even more. Throwing in CCV without any match practice for the critical last 30 minutes of the game seemed a very odd choice to me, especially because Phillips didn't seem to be injured and the back four were playing fine as a unit. CCV, of course, was the one who made the blunder, getting caught on the ball in the 94th minute. Didn't have the pace to tackle back or get himself back into the box properly to block the header back across the goal. And for me, that largely comes down to Rodgers' selection policy. Also, I think the decision to start Yang rather than Palma was questionable. The decision to swap Maeda and Yang around on which side they were playing down seemed questionable. Again, that comes down to Rodgers and his coaching staff. And of course, the defensive organisation at the at corners and free kicks, again, partly down to the players, but very largely is down to coaching. Celtic did seem a bit confused about how to clear that ball that went to the middle of the box, headed in onto the 6 yard line where it was deflected in past Hart. I do wish one of the central defenders had come forward to challenge that the first header more strongly, and that one of the defenders or Hart had come to intercept the header before it was flicked on by the Lazio defender. Again, I think that's partly down to the players making errors, but largely is down to Rodgers setting up his team. In terms of other players who were a bit disappointing for me, Hatate and McGregor didn't really get much control of midfield. For me, McGregor was starting very deep, seemed to be facing the wrong way a lot of the time, and so a lot of his passes were just being knocked back to Johnston and Phillips and Scales and Taylor. They weren't really pushing forward, linking in with O'Reilly and Hatate to get the ball out wide. McGregor a few times did drive through from midfield, getting into the final third. And when McGregor was facing forwards, facing the Lazio team, Celtic looked a lot more threatening. Hatate didn't seem to have his same ability to be all over the pitch, linking defence, midfield, and attack, getting out wide, and being a threat in and around the edge of the box. Not sure whether this is down to Hatate and McGregor, whether this is the way that Rodgers wants them to play, but I was much happier when Celtic had the much more free, creative and attacking style under Postecoglou, where McGregor, Hatate, O'Reilly all got forward, all linked up in midfield as more of a unit. I think also last night we missed Aaron Moy, as for much of last season, up until his injury, he was that player who was very good at linking all three phases of midfield. I think it should be remembered, however, also that Celtic are, in terms of European experience, quite inexperienced. This was Scales' second Champions League match, Alistair Johnston's second Champions League match, Lewis Palma and Yang also playing their second Champions League match. Nat Phillips, obviously inexperienced at this level. Certainly some of Celtic's players have had a season or two playing Champions League, but I think for me this is a development season. We made the very good decision to sign several of our star players on 3, 4, 5 year contracts, and so all things being equal, we should have O'Reilly, Hatate, McGregor, Kyogo, Abada, Maeda, all working together along with CCV for another 2 or 3 years. And so I think the success will come next season and the season after in Europe. And I think with this squad, we very much are going to be the number one favourites to win the double this season, especially with the other lots problems, losing their manager or sacking their manager, and no real proper team spirit or organisation with the other lot. Don't think any of the other Scottish teams are going to challenge us over a whole season. And so I think the double is very much on this season. I think players like Yang and Palma and Thiago Holm and Bernardo, etc., are all going to get better and better. I think Scales and O'Reilly are good examples of how good Rodgers is as a coach, as I think both have considerably improved this season. And I'm very sure that with the extra coaching of Rodgers, that Palmer, Yang, etc., are all going to turn into top quality players. People blame the board, but I don't think Celtic, in terms of the types of players that we can buy, can shop at the highest end of the market for players who are already Champions League ready stars. I think we need to buy players in from the lesser leagues and the less established leagues, as any player who's Champions League ready is going to prefer to go off and play for an English Premier League side or teams, big teams in Spain, Italy, Germany, France, etc. I think where the board has done a great job recently is, as I said, signing star players on long contracts at higher salaries, which will encourage them to stay at Celtic in the medium term at least. And with that, success will come in Europe. So, Celtic deserved more. We could have got more. We started brilliantly. Lovely goal from Kyogo. Brilliant move with Maeda and O'Reilly. And a great finish by Kyogo. I thought when Lewis Palmer came on, Celtic again looked much more of a threat. He was unlucky not to get that goal in the 81st minute. It was correctly flagged offside by VAR. And if only Dyson Maeda had missed at his overhead kick rather than just flicking the ball with his overhead kick, then Palmer would have been onside and would have scored the goal. And I actually feel quite sure Celtic would have held on to win. However, VAR interceded to disallow the goal. The Lazio goal, after CCV's blunder, was onside, just. And some people are grumbling about a potential red card in the first half. I think actually it probably was more of a yellow card than a red card. Some people are saying technically that should be a red card. I think VAR interceding to turn it into a red card probably would have been harsh. Although I was actually quite surprised, given the fact the referee did acknowledge that Hatate had been hit in the face, why he didn't even go to speak to the Lazio player who Foram smashed Hatate in the face, although I do think it was more accidental rather than a deliberate act. However, in technical terms, that can be seen as being a reckless foul, and so technically could have been a red card. However, I don't think we should cry over spilt milk of VAR decisions. I think on the whole, things were pretty fair. Celtic's goal was offside, and so was disallowed after VAR. And games at this level are fine margins, and I think with this season under their belt, keeping this bunch of players together, maybe with the addition of a top quality goalkeeper and another couple of attacking options in terms of a additional striker to go with Kyogo and a more attacking midfielder, and also additional cover at left back and right back. All of these things will help Celtic reach the levels they deserve in the next year or two. So, an evening of feeling we are close but not quite there. The fine margin's not quite there. I think with experience, playing at this level, the team staying together for another couple of years, And with Rodgers doing his magic along with the coaching staff, I think the future is rosy. And 24, 25 are going to be the years we see this team mature into the level that they deserve to be at. I think it must be also remembered that 4 years ago we managed to beat Lazio home and away. I think this squad are the same kind of level as that squad. I think the players we had then are much the same kind of quality as this team and this squad, but that team had played together a bit more for a longer period, a bit more experience playing in Europe, and I think that's what was the difference last time. And that's what I think the difference will be next year and the year after. However, I don't think all hope is lost for this season in Europe. I think if things fall into place, I think if players get back to full fitness, and if players such as Luis Palma and Scales improve, along with O'Reilly and McGregor and Hatate forming a better midfield unit, and if CCV gets back to full fitness, I think we have got the possibility of getting out this group in third place and at a push second place. And that just about finishes off today's video. Tomorrow we'll do a full preview of the Kilmarnock game at the weekend. With a view to that, I'm going to pop into the community section a little poll as to who you think should partner Liam Scales in the game against Kilmarnock on Saturday, with the options being obviously Lakabielka, CCV or Nat Phillips. I think on current fitness and form, Scales is our number one choice on the team sheet for central defence, and one of the other three fitting in alongside him. And will be interesting to see which of those three you feel will be the best option. A bit of a rambling video today. Hopefully some of my thoughts and opinions and analysis has struck a chord or been interesting. And as always, feel free to pop comments of your own thoughts about the game or about the future into the comment section, and I will read those and reply where possible. So for today, thanks for listening, thanks for watching. Do have a wee go at the quiz question, do have a wee go at the poll in the community section, and speak again tomorrow with a preview of the Celtic Kilmarnock game at the weekend, and also a wee bit coverage of the Celtics women's match, who are playing tonight against Glasgow City women. And if Celtic win that game, they go back top of the table. So thanks for listening, thanks for watching, goodbye, speak again tomorrow, and hail, hail.